Attention to detail. It can make something epic. It can absolutely ruin something. Attention to detail, because the littlest of details can derail anything that has potential. I love factions in pro wrestling. I feel pro wrestling always needs factions because you always need an ultimate group that one individual, one face, one hero needs to overcome the odds. And the numbers game is the most simplistic formula from the beginning of time in pro wrestling. The numbers game. A badass, mean, evil faction that you need to see somebody overcome. Sometimes they get so damn cool, the faction becomes the faces. NWO became so damn cool, but still, the numbers game was so dominant, they were running roughshod, they were basically bullies, you still needed to see the guy like Sting or Roddy Piper show up and save the day, no matter how cool the faction is. Factions are needed. I like renegade factions that totally wreck everything in their path, ruin everything in their path and everybody. Nexus style, right? A little bit of NWO, a little bit of Nexus, a little bit of DX. Groups that just don't care. They don't give a fuck. They're gonna do what they want, when they want, and you ain't gonna get in their way or you'll be dealt with. So you think I would love this new renegade faction? Retribution, I believe, is the chaotic faction name. But the attention to detail is not there. How the fuck do you announce the group is coming to WWE before a renegade group actually gets to WWE? So their whole goal is to show up unannounced and wreak havoc. Take over WWE. That's what they were screaming last night. It's our show now. So the whole premise is that it's a renegade. It's like Nexus, but even more so. I mean, they're literally taking over supposedly unannounced. There's just one problem. You announced it! You announced it last week before Monday Night Raw. You announced that a new faction is coming. And then the lights start going in and out, the microphones in and out, they blow up the Transformers. You announced that a group that is based on unannouncement, total anarchy, you announced that they're in WWE ahead of time. That's the first thing that boggled my mind, and I couldn't really get behind the group at that point wholeheartedly. And then last night, there was a time where the lights were going in and out at the top of the show. Corey Graves looks at Michael Cole and says, Retribution isn't scheduled tonight, are they? What the fuck do you mean Retribution isn't scheduled? I would hope not. They're an unannounced renegade anarchy team. The premise is you don't know when they're going to show up. It's unannounced. You don't want them to show up. If they're scheduled, chances are you probably wouldn't be there in the first place. Retribution isn't scheduled tonight. Did you guys catch it? Or did you not? Because you can go back to the top of the show when the lights were going in and out, and I heard it. They're acting as if this is a group signed by WWE, and that's just their shtick. Retribution isn't scheduled tonight, are they, Michael? Well, I don't know, Corey, but on to the next Jeff Hardy situation. The whole shtick is based on outlaws, outsiders, renegades. They're showing up unannounced because they don't even go here. Right? No, they do. Vince signed them, apparently. They were announced as a new faction WWE before Raw. They were talking about, are they scheduled or are they not scheduled last night? So are there a group that's signed by the owner to destroy the company. What? It makes zero fucking sense. Attention to detail can ruin something that otherwise could be cool. I love shit like that, where a group of individuals completely take over. That's why I love Nexus. And they're tearing up the ring and the broadcasters, and at one point Daniel Bryan had Justin Roberts by the throat with a tie, which he got suspended for. But I love shit like that. Last night, you got the fucking ropes being fucking chainsawed off, fucking baseball bats on the commentary table, the recruits in the crowd were getting tooled on. I don't mind it if the fucking details were in order. And what the fuck is the deal with the mask shit? I understand this is what McMahon does. He takes what's happening in society, in the real world, and he puts it onto his programming. For those younger fans, he's done this since the beginning of time. I remember back when there was the Gulf War with United States and Iraq and all of that stuff, and he had Sergeant Slaughter actually turn on America, and he had the Gulf War basically come to WWE, and you had General Agnob, and it was a whole fucking deal with Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter, and he basically just took what was happening in the real world with the Gulf War. This was about 1991, guys, around the Royal Rumble 91 and WrestleMania 7, and it was a huge thing, and a lot of people are upset, like, wow, you're taking real world shit and you're putting it here? Like, that's not cool, man. To the point where there's supposed to be a bigger venue for WrestleMania 7, but security was so wound up. They were like, uh-oh, this isn't good. Like, we're going to need extra security. It's going to cost you this amount of money. And Vince was like, this isn't even feasible anymore. That's how much heat was not just around WWE at the time, but in the world. A month before, actually, things were mostly settled in the war too, but there was still a lot of unrest. My point is this, guys. He's done this type of shit since he took over WWE. He takes what's happening in the real world and he puts it on his programming. So you see the unrest here in the United States, and now you're seeing it on your television program. I don't need the mass shit, man, because now you're building to anticipation that there's no way you can deliver on. The best case scenario for us diehard fans is it's somebody like Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, and maybe even Dijakovic is leading the group, even though you didn't see him, because I didn't see any big dude in that group. Dijakovic could be behind the scenes. It's almost like the Dark Order, right? They were around from the start of AEW, and then all of a sudden Brody Lee comes in as the leader, right? The exalted one. Well, Dijakovic could still be the leader of this, even though he hasn't really been showcased yet. You know, and I saw some smaller dudes like Johnny Gargano, people thought they heard. Candice LeRae looked like she could be one of the two females that I saw. The other one looked like it could be Vanessa Bourne because she had curly hair. Kind of resembles, if you put the mask on and it kind of ties it down, it kind of resembled Vanessa Bourne. But that's diehard fans. That's the best that we can hope for. If you're not a diehard fan and you don't know a lot about NXT or wrestlers outside of the main roster, then you don't even know what I'm talking about. Vanessa who? Candice who? Johnny who? Dija who? Dijakovic. But that's all right. I don't expect you to know this type of stuff. This is outside of the main roster. You know, you shouldn't have the casual fan working that hard to find out who people are. At least when Nexus showed up, it was unmasked. You knew they just meant business. Like, yeah, you don't know who we are, but you should starting right now. With the mask situation, you're just going to build up anticipation more and more and more, especially with the casuals, to a point where they're going to have to reveal themselves, and I don't think you're going to be able to deliver. You're building up anticipation that you will not be able to deliver on. That's my biggest fear in all this. And the best case scenario that us diehard fans can hope for is that it is people we give a shit about. Johnny Gargano should be out of NXT right now. We know this. Just like Finn Balor. They have reached their peak in NXT. There's nothing more you can give them now, storyline-wise or anything. It's passed them by. It's gotten to the point now where Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor and Undisputed Era, these are all talents in NXT, and people are saying NXT is pretty stale lately. NXT is not what it once was, with the talent they have. It's time for Gargano to move on anyway. He's got nothing else to lose. He's being pushed into obscurity in NXT anyway, just like Finn Balor. They're both losing triple threat matches just to compete for a mid-card championship in NXT. That tournament that they were in, or the triple threat matches, that was for a mid-card title, guys, the North American Championship. Keith Lee just gave that away. And Finn Balor is fighting for it. Johnny Gargano, you're telling me they haven't reached their peak in NXT? Please. So just have Gargano and Candice LeRae and Dijakovic show up, unmask. The NXT recruits, they're there. They're tired of being held back in any brand. And they're tired of being told they can't make it in the big pond. The story sits in your lap. It writes itself. But no, we're going to play the fucking game that's going on in the world today with the renegade idiots, dipshits, and fuckwads that are trying to cause unrest in big cities. Maybe even small towns across the United States. Who knows? But this bullshit that's going on in the world, now we have to see it here with these masked jabronis. We don't need the mask bullshit. You're setting yourself up for failure. Just like Gargano, LeRae, Dijakovic, if you wanted to go the other way and have the Undisputed Era be the Renegades coming in, then you just have them show up as Undisputed Era. It makes sense. Shock the system. That's something Vince would do, wouldn't it? What do? They shock the system? Bring them in! And we laugh about it because that's a McMahon thing to do, but it could work. Again, it writes itself. It sits in your lap. The Undisputed Era, they have nothing else to prove in NXT. They already held all the championships. Now they're just in a pretty stale product, or at least not where it once was. Let the new crop come up and see what they can do with NXT. Undisputed Era, let's see what they can do on the main roster now. It can be no fucking worse than what they're doing now in NXT. They're bringing in Pat McAfee to go to battle with Adam Cole. And as far as Fish, O'Reilly, they'll be trying to get tag titles once again. It's going to be like the New Day, trying to get tag titles for the 914th time. Redundancy at its finest. Roddy Strong will always just be the middleman. There's nothing left. Bring them to the main roster. Have them cause havoc. Have them shock the system. So now we play the Masked Renegade game. Basically like one of these dipshit groups that's going around the United States and trying to fuck up cities. And you're building anticipation that you won't be able to deliver on. I'm telling you they won't. I have no problem with Vince doing these type of things. Throwing Hail Marys, right? Everybody's fucking upset at why this is being done. But this is what we've asked for. A pulse on these shows. Give us something that we're talking about. Something that's semi-cool, even if there's shades of total corniness in it. Raw Underground. This new faction, right? There's shades of just lame in it. But there's also shades where it's like, all right, that's kind of fucking cool. Or it's about time we had a fucking lifeline thrown into these shows. So I don't care. We know why it's being done. The ratings have hit so fucking low that he has to throw Hail Marys. So I'm glad it's at least being done. I don't give a fuck what the reason is at this point. It just needs to be done. Everybody wants to talk about why it's being done. We know why it's being done. It should have been done last week, last month, last year, 5 years ago. But attention to detail. Announcing the group before the group even shows up. Talking about if they're scheduled or not when they're supposed to be an unannounced renegade group. Having them in fucking masks. When you know ain't nobody gonna give a fuck when they take those masks off, we're all gonna be like, really, dude? Unless you deliver again for the diehards. Is it a Johnny Gargano? Is Candice LeRae under there? Is Dijakovic running this ship? Is it gonna be somebody like a Damian Priest who's running this thing when it's all said and done? And right now, the minions are out there doing the dirty work. And for the casual fan who doesn't even watch anything but WWE, they're just gonna see fucking dudes be unmasked, right? I don't see how you can deliver in an epic way. Even if Undisputed Era was to take off the masks, then you fucked it up. Just have them show up as Undisputed Era, and it'll do much more wonders. They don't need to be under masks. Hope you guys are fucking kidding. If you loved it, that's awesome, man. I understand why you would like a segment like that. There was even moments during that where I was kind of like, all right, we're on the right path here. I just can't get over the small details which aren't so minor because they affect the long-term storytelling and the group itself. No more announcing this shit. You're basically ruining the whole group before it starts. That's what they did. Now you're going to have to work extra hard to get people to back the group and the concept. I don't complain and bitch just for the fuck of it, guys. I do it because I see the holes that the conglomerate company Suits and Ties refuse to even acknowledge. I want to see the best. I'm the guy who said Raw Underground has potential, and I took a lot of heat for that shit. But it's got potential to at least build some people up. That's the best the Hurt Business has looked since the Hurt Business came together. Whatever you want to fucking call it, formed. That's the best Hurt. So if that nothing else, Raw Underground, all 3 segments put together lasted under 15 minutes, and we got something out of it. Hurt Business looked like a Hurt Business. See what I mean? If something good can come out of something, then all the lame shit is overridden. I can speak. Another fucking coffee here, guys. My fucking notes are falling. My camera's fucking... I'll give you a renegade rope left and right. Or for you, left and right. Whatever fucking you're switched around, I think. But you get what I'm saying. I'm off the fucking rails. Just like yesterday, by the way. All you guys who tuned in for that live stream, my first ever live stream yesterday. You guys are rock stars. We had a fucking ball. They say time flies when you're having fun. I kid you not. I looked up after a half an hour and it felt like 10 minutes. It was a half an hour gone. I blinked. I looked back up. An hour was gone. Then an hour and a half and I had to leave. But I was like, how is time flying? I was having so much fun, man, interacting with you guys. I was asking you guys questions. You guys were fucking blasting off your answers. I got to see it on the screen. These live streams, if you're asking, am I going to do them in the future? Because I know a lot of you missed them. I put this up at 11 a.m. yesterday, something like that. Real early. So I know a lot of you guys had things to do. And thankfully, several hundred of you actually tuned in live. And I know it was able to be posted afterwards as well, so you guys got to see it after. But I know a lot of you guys were upset because you didn't get to catch it. Something tells me I'll be doing them in the future. Maybe that'll be my new thing for the podcast. I don't know. But you guys made it fun as fuck. I had a whole lot of fun doing it because I got to interact a lot more. The super chats and you guys going above and beyond to buy the Amplified Man a coffee. You guys were absolute rock stars. Man, I think I missed a question or two. Or one, I think. Was it Conified? I think it was, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Conified. I know I got to a couple of your questions in the super yesterday. I think really late you put in one and I missed it. I'll be gathering that and I'll be answering that. Don't worry, in the next video. So be on the lookout for that. So I want to make sure all my supers know that the cup of coffees you're getting the Amplified Man, they're much appreciated. Trust me. We had a ball and something tells me I'll be doing that in the future. We have a show to get to, guys. We have to talk about this group. We have to talk about this in much more in-depth detail. Unfortunately, or fortunately, if you love to see the Amplified Man get amplified, you're in the right place because we're going to talk about that a lot more when we get to that segment. We're going to talk about Sasha Banks, Bayley, and their Summerslam matches. Stephanie McMahon is ordering them into matches for Summerslam. We'll talk about that. Bray Wyatt, my boy, in a fucking dumbass segment last night with Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman, and Baron Corbin and Sheamus ran the entire show. If you didn't catch what I'm talking about, if you didn't catch the show, listen to my words again. Baron Corbin and Sheamus ran the show, basically. Yeah, you're not excited for Baron Corbin and Sheamus? Are you not entertained? Well, don't worry. The Ant-Man will entertain you at least. That much you do know. We're gonna down some coffee. I'm going to take 15 seconds for a warning disclaimer so nobody can say, wow, I didn't know this video was going to be that amplified. You should tell people beforehand, Beasley. Well, here you go. Here's your fucking warning. I'll be back with you guys in 15 seconds. Alright, so the show, Bray Wyatt in the Firefly Funhouse, and he warns Braun Strowman not to even show up later because he will be waiting, meaning the Fiend. I like that, man. We're setting up something cool for later on. That's how I always want shows to start off, with intrigue. Get us with an emotion right from the get-go. Get us expecting something for the show, right? Give us a reason to tune in throughout. You know, sometimes it can be something really small. Like, all right, this dude's going to be waiting for this dude when he shows up. I love that, man. That's why I always say, I always love when you start to show off back in the day with somebody waiting in the parking lot, right? No, they're so pissed off that when that person shows up in their car into that parking lot, that dude's going to be standing there waiting, dude. I always love things like that. And then every segment or two, you'd go back to the parking lot and we'd be watching this guy waiting for that person to show up, you know, and it builds over time until the culmination of the battle. Sometimes it could just be like this, where Bray Wyatt is telling everyone, hey, Braun, you may not even want to show up because the results are not going to be to your liking. Well, Braun Strowman never showed up anyway. The closest this guy got was on the fucking Tron via satellite. So, and not only that, but it was even worse than that, guys. Here we are thinking, okay, that's a cool way to start the show. There's something awesome going to happen with the Fiend later. And what actually happened was the opposite of cool, was the opposite of intriguing, the opposite of exciting, the opposite of fun, the opposite of fucking relevant, the opposite of anything that was good. And I love Bray Wyatt. This guy can do no wrong in my eyes. So just imagine how bad this was for me to be that heated about it. We'll get to that in a few segments. That was ending hour number 1, going into hour number 2. But that's how the show started. Bray Wyatt warning Braun Strowman not to show up. And Braun Strowman's like, okay, thanks for the warning. I'll go eat my Lunchables again. Who stole my Capri Sun? Hey, Nicholas, want to trade cookies? I want the sugar. I got 2 chocolate chips. Good old Braun Strowman, man. Like a big child, right? It was fitting that he won a tag title at WrestleMania with a fucking child. Am I right? Isn't that fitting for Braun Strowman? He found his fucking recess partner to go win tag titles. And they went backstage and they traded fucking Lunchable cookies. You guys remember Lunchables even around anymore? That was back in my day, man. Anyway, that's the start of the show. We think something cool is going to happen. It didn't. We'll get to that. First matchup of the night, Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Okay match, nothing special. Got better towards the finish, though, for sure. Which was Sheamus DQ'd when Shorty attacked Riddle. Which totally backfired because Riddle put Shorty G back into his booster seat 10 seconds later. It's always hilarious and downright sad and tragic when somebody comes to make a distraction or a save and tries to be badass and they get tooled on, right? I say it's funny because they thought they were badass enough to make a save or do something and they got their ass whooped. But it's also sad and tragic because they honestly thought they were going to do something and they got their ass whooped. Aleister Black is one of those tragic situations. You remember a couple weeks ago, Aleister Black came down to help Dominic Mysterio, and Aleister Black 10 seconds later was getting his ass whooped. In fact, Dominic Mysterio, a minute later, had to help Aleister Black out and make the save. That's sad when Dominic Mysterio has to save you when you tried to save him, if that makes fucking sense. That makes Aleister Black look like a fucking moron. Here comes because he's the shortest G of them all. By the way, rumor has it that he's almost He's almost there. He's going to meet the height requirement to ride Space Mountain at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. He's almost there. Another fucking inch, and he can ride Space Mountain. So he comes out, and he backfires because Riddle ends up tooling on him. Sheamus bro kicks Shorty G's dome piece after this. So not only does Riddle beat him up, after the match, Sheamus is pissed off that he got DQ'd, so he bro kicks Shorty G too. Not once, but twice. The shortest G of them all cannot catch a break. As a face or a heel, he's getting tooled on. Everyone's like, oh, this is what Shorty G needs, a heel turn. You forgot, this is under Vince McMahon's tutelage here. Doesn't matter if he's a face or a heel, he's still going to be the shortest G, getting the shortest end of the stick in every situation. Oh, I tell you guys, man. So that was that, right? Sheamus is pissed. Backstage, Sheamus tells Corbin, hey, your buddy there cost me a match. You better stay out of my way, fella. And Corbin's like, do you think I care what you think? I'm a king. And Sheamus is like, whatever, fella. And he's like, I'm a king. Show me respect. Whatever, fella, king. And they had I don't even know what they were saying. I just knew that Sheamus and Baron Corbin were about to take up way too much of our time last night when nobody asked for it. Miz TV was next with special guest Mandy Rose's hair. Yes, I can't make that up. I'm not fucking with you guys who didn't watch this show. Mandy Rose's hair was the guest via satellite on the Tron. Because she got it cut off last week. So Miz and Morrison, obviously, a couple of jokesters, they're having fun with it. And Mandy Rose's hair had eyeballs, and Miz and Morrison were playing the roles of Mandy Rose's hair. They were doing the voiceover. I don't know what to say. Listen, I think what made me crack up at the time was that Miz and Morrison were so into this, guys. They were, if you look at them, they forgot what the fuck they were probably even supposed to get to. They just went hard on this for 2 minutes. They were looking at one another and they were in it, bro. They were just doing Mandy Rose's hair, which is basically just a valley girl. You know, it was, I'm not gonna lie to you. This was so out there and outrageous. I cracked up. I literally LOL'd. Literally LOL'd. Miz and Morrison just literally made me crack up. So if that was the purpose, it did it, man. For the first time in the night thus far, I showed some type of fucking emotion. Then a real human being guest was introduced. That's Sonya Deville. Sonya just bashes Rose verbally for about 3 minutes. And she did good, man. She was in it. She didn't stutter. She hit her bullet points. I am really impressed with everything that Sonya Deville has been doing over the last several months. Really, since before WrestleMania to this point. Sonya Deville is starting to really turn heads. And most importantly, she turned the Amplified man's head, because she was one of those people that I was kind of like, dude, you're going to have to move mountains to really make me notice you. The division is stacked with talent. Most of them aren't even getting the time of day. What makes you think I'm going to look at you, Sonya Deville, you, Mandy Rose? But Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville has been part of some of the best storytelling since before WrestleMania to right now. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville continue to light storytelling and the WWE on fire when nobody else truly is. So, much respect to Sonya Deville as of late. Heavy Machinery hits the ring, as obviously Otis has heard enough. Miz and Morrison hightail it, and that sets up a main event for later in the night. Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery. That's our main event on our Smackdown 2-hour show in 2020. I like Otis. I like Heavy Machinery. I like The Miz. I like Morrison for the most part. That's our main event in 2020. When you think of all the main events that SmackDown has had over the years and all the big stars that have been in WWE on SmackDown, and this is where we're at, man. And the whole show was really carried by Sheamus and Baron Corbin, because they weren't done. From earlier in the night, you thought you already saw enough. No, in hour 2, you were going to see a lot more Sheamus and Baron Corbin, by the way. So this show, man, I don't know, man. I don't know, man. There was a lot of shit that was just dull. I think that's the best word to put it, right? Dull. Cesaro versus Dorado is up next. Dorado of the House Party, Lucha Summer College House Party, whatever the fuck you want to call them. What wasn't dull was Dorado's performance. I mean, that's what made this match actually fun. Dorado showcased nearly everything he's got to offer, and that kid is damn good. Just like we saw from Grand Metalik too with AJ Styles. But it still wasn't enough to get one over on Cesaro. Uppercut into the neutralizer, and Cesaro ends up picking up the W, which is obviously what should have happened. But Dorado gets some shine, just like Grand Metalik did last week. So I don't know. It just felt like a filler match that didn't really have purpose. But at least Dorado's performance made it fun. But there was no care into this. Hour number 1 comes to a close with the entrance of the Fiend Bray Wyatt, his actual full Fiend entrance, which we don't usually see, and Michael Cole is talking over it. No lie. Here he comes, it's right at the beginning, and Cole's like, it's the Fiend! And here's fucking Corey Graves jumping in. He's like, wow, it's the Fiend. This is what a feeling this is in the Performance Center, or whatever the fuck they're saying. And I'm like, shit! I'm blasting my own mic over here. Shut up, bro. It's like you don't talk during the Undertaker's theme. You don't talk during the Fiend's theme. They have the whole entrance, and then we go to commercial. When we come back, this is no lie. Guys, Alexa Bliss is sitting in the ring, and the Fiend is standing over her, just like last week. I thought I was just seeing the video package from last week, because this clearly makes no sense. Why would Alexa Bliss come to the ring, sit down, and let the Fiend stand over her? Right? Well, BC, she's setting him up for Braun. Or BC, she likes Bray. Or this is the beginning, this is going to usher more between Alexa and Bray. Awesome. I'm cool with that. Give it some purpose. Give it some believability. You just came back from commercial and Alexa Bliss just happened to be sitting in the middle of the ring when she wasn't out there before? Am I the only one noticing this? Alexa Bliss sitting in the ring. She's like rubbing Bray Wyatt's face, and then all of a sudden Braun Strowman winds up on the fucking Tron, and Braun Strowman is trying to tell Bray Wyatt, the Fiend, that he's the real monster. He's the real monster. It's not you, Bray. He's the monster. And be worried. Be in fear until SummerSlam or something. The Fiend is looking at him like, dude, are you looking at my face? Does it look like I'm scared of you, bro? Via satellite, you're going to talk tough? Oh, man. And that was the segment. I cannot make that. That was it. Alexa just happened to be sitting in the middle of the ring. Braun's on the Tron talking about how he's a monster. You know damn well he's just going to eat his fucking Lunchables and Capri Sun with Nicholas after that promo. And then we go to another commercial. How the fuck was that you started so great with Bray warning Braun not to show up because the Fiend will be waiting. You think there's going to be a confrontation. There's nothing. Braun doesn't even actually show up. The Fiend is getting rubbed by Alexa somehow. Alexa somehow got to the middle of the ring. After being mandible clawed, now she's going to be rubbing his face the next week. And how did she get into the middle of the ring? I mean, obviously she walked it, but what the fuck was that segment? Talking about it here the next morning with you guys, I'm more dumbfounded, I think, than I saw it last night. And that took us into hour number 2, by the way. Fuck. King Corbin versus Jeff Hardy. That's what I mean. Now more King Corbin. He's taking on Jeff Hardy. Guys, I kid you not. You go back and watch this match, and I honestly feel for those damn developmental and NXT talents in the crowd, because they busted their asses in this match way more than Hardy and Corbin did. Way overdone. You would have thought this was a Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker match. And it's not their fault. Clearly, the old man wanted this circus-type atmosphere, so the old man in Stamford, Connecticut told all the developmental talent and the NXT talents to bang on the plexiglass, yell, scream, take off your mask and scream. I mean, the noise in this match, you would have thought this was Shawn Michaels Undertaker again. No, it was King Corbin versus Jeff Hardy, middle of Smackdown. And they treated this like it was the biggest match of all time. And again, you can blame Vince McMahon for that. That was way overdone, bruh. Match was just over 5 minutes, thankfully for the developmental talent. They only had to do that for about 5 minutes. Sheamus interferes and Bro kicks Hardy and Corbin is DQ'd. This is obviously Retribution, not the actual faction. True Retribution, clearly for Sheamus and what happened to him earlier in the night. How Corbin's protege, Shorty G, costed Sheamus the match. Now Sheamus is going to cost Corbin the match. Yay! What the okay. I kid you not, we come back from commercial and we get an impromptu match now of Sheamus versus King Corbin. As if it couldn't get any worse. Well, jackpot party. Pandemics going around, a wabaka in the world, social issues, hurricanes. What else does 2020 have in store for us? Corbin and Sheamus, of course. This match was like 4 minutes in length. Thankfully, we didn't need to see a second more. It's probably 4 minutes too long, to be honest. Matt Riddle comes flying into this match like he's one of Tozawa's flying ninjas. He literally comes out of nowhere. Corbin is distracted and gets bro kicked. Sheamus wins this match. What the fuck is going on? Honestly, I literally do not care about Sheamus, Corbin, Shorty G, none of it. And in the process, even Hardy and Riddle, because they're involved in all this bullshit. I don't care about any of it, and it was the bulk of the show last night. I have no care for these individuals. They're even making me not care about Matt Riddle. How is that possible? They're making me not care at all about it. Coffee break, timeout. Stephanie McMahon is on the Tron next. She orders Bayley and Sasha Banks middle of the ring. Stephanie says there'll be a tri-brand battle royal next week. NXT, Smackdown, Raw, to determine Bayley's SummerSlam opponent for the title. That could be interesting. You know, at least she gave a reasoning to that, right? She said, Bayley, you want to talk a tough game and how you're Bayley 3 brands and you've been dominating on all 3 brands, right? That's what you've been bragging about. Well, now I'm going to give all 3 of those brands a chance to get some retribution on you, right? Word of the night. So at least there was reason, right? If people are like, why is NXT? This makes no sense. It actually does, man. One of the owners of the company, right? I still look at Stephanie as an owner because, come on, let's be honest. She's the future owner of this motherfucker. With H and Shane. Who the fuck knows who else? She comes out, this authority figure, and she gave you a reason why. You talk all this big game, how you dominate all 3 brands. Now I'm going to give you a chance to prove it even more. So I don't mind that at all for Bayley's SummerSlam opponent. There was rumors that it was going to be Stephanie McMahon. I don't know where those rumors came from. That's just dumb as fuck. Even if you read that on a dirt sheet, how the fuck are you going to think Stephanie McMahon is wrestling at SummerSlam? Stop it. Stephanie McMahon won't even come out of her fucking house probably, right? She doesn't need to. This fucking millionaire is sitting in Greenwich, Connecticut. Fucking Stephanie McMahon versus... That doesn't even make sense. What? I don't even know where that story came from. This makes much more sense. It's much more believable, right? This is what's happening. Tri-brand for Bayley's championship. Stephanie McMahon also alluded to Asuka is going to be the opponent for Sasha. That was not made official, but Stephanie alluded to that. She's like, your SummerSlam opponent could just be Asuka. I was like, what? What is that? What do you mean could be? Just say it's Asuka then. Like you just said they beat Asuka kind of underhandedly with some tricks and some tactics, so why not just give Asuka the match then? I think it's going to be a triple threat probably, maybe with Shayna Baszler. I don't know. We'll see. Main event, again, was Heavy Machinery versus Miz and Morrison. Run-of-the-mill match until Mandy Rose shows up, and Mandy and Sonya come to blows and go to war, and this was actually pretty cool, man. Sonya didn't want to sell for Mandy. Mandy didn't want to sell for Sonya, but it wasn't just because they just don't sell, like a Charlotte Flair or Nia Jax. They just don't like to sell. It just added believability. Like, no, I'm fucking getting you. Yeah, you getting... They were just fucking going, man. It was cool. It was definitely... I like Mandy and Sonya. I just, something about them, man. There's a chemistry. And obviously, when you're good buddies, you can pull off some pretty cool stuff. We go to break. When we come back, Mandy and Sonya are still going at it. In the back, people are trying to break them up. Heavy Machinery's pulling back Mandy. Miz and Morrison, suits and ties. Referees are pulling back Sonya. And then the lights go out. Retribution hits the ring, this new faction, and it's Nexus all over again, but much more diluted because they're under these masks. As far as size and stature, I know today's wrestler is smaller anyway, but it didn't look like a dominating presence. And that's why I say maybe the leader or leaders are much more dominant and, bigger in stature. But these dudes and gals, I think there was at least like 2 gals in there. One of them looked like Vanessa Bourne because of the curly hair I saw. And the other one kind of had the frame and sound of like a Candice LeRae. She was short. She had some ass. Well, I'm not going to. Let's just say it resembled a Candice LeRae. I don't know. Some people said that size, stature, and even they think they heard Johnny Gargano. Some people are saying they heard Roddy Strong, which is part of Undisputed Era. So you have a lot of, I guess in a way it's building suspense, but that's my point. WWE builds up anticipation to a point sometimes where they just can't deliver. I think this is one of those situations. Because if it is a Gargano, if it is a LeRae, if it is an Undisputed Era, you have them show up without masks. You want them to show up as actual dominating figures from the jump. They don't have to hide behind anything. But that's what happened, man. Retribution comes down with masks on, so we don't know who exactly they are. They have baseball bats. They're flipping over the commentary table. They're taking out the plexiglass. They actually go into the crowd. They start taking out NXT and developmental talent. They start beating the hell out of them. Even the females are taking out the other females in developmental. They get back into the ring. There's a dude with a chainsaw. I don't think it was Chainsaw Charlie. It could have been. Who knows? Terry Funk. Will never go away, truly. So a chainsaw starts cutting the rope. So they took what they did in Nexus when they tore up the ring, and they tried to take it a step further, right? What can we do that Nexus didn't do on their opening night when they tore down the ring? Well, they didn't take a chainsaw and cut the rope. So they went with that, man. Chainsaw cuts up the ropes. I don't mind this. If this was done correctly and all the holes were filled and there was no gaps in logic and common sense was actually common, and, the details were all paid attention to. If this was done right from the beginning, I don't mind this at all. You say, oh, it's regurgitating the old faction storyline, but yeah, that's fine. You're always going to regurgitate it in some way. It's a badass renegade faction, right? The whole premise is they're going to take over. So there's only so many ways you can take over. You try to still be creative, obviously, and you hope to do such, but you're going to repeat some of the stuff that you saw in the past with groups. You're going to come across those situations again, obviously. Right? It's part of the takeover process. You're going to take out suits and ties. You're going to terrorize the ring and commentators and everyone in the process. So I don't mind any of that. I don't mind the Hail Mary that Vince McMahon is throwing because he knows the ratings are in the tank. This should have happened years ago. I don't mind any of that. Now we have to see where we are right now and where we go going forward. They better have a huge game plan when those masks come off. It better be people that we care about and are going to dominate going forward. Because if you're throwing this Hail Mary with no real fucking plan, and you got some Larry, Curly, and Moe under those masks, literally just the Stooges, that's going to be a problem. All of this is for some fucking mid-card fucking jabronis. Literally. So I see so much potential in something like this, just like Raw Underground. But if you don't do it correctly, if you don't have a plan going forward, it's all for naught. I'm all for factions. I'm all for renegade factions. I don't want to see just what's going on in the world today, especially here in the United States, with these idiots going to towns and cities and causing all this unrest. I don't want to see that now in WWE too. Make it... I don't need the mask, man. If you got some real awesome individuals, showcase them. Take the mask off and let them be the group. It's that simple. We don't need some because for all we know, these are fucking Tozawa's ninjas. fucking Tozawa's upgraded ninjas. Maybe it's the upgraded package. The upgraded ninja package. Tozawa is sparing no expense. All of this is to get the 24/7 title, damn it. Oh, the Amplified, man. That's your Smackdown review. Much love to all you guys. Again, all you that tuned into the live stream. The hundreds of you that tuned in live. And the thousands that tuned in afterwards. Thank you so much. And I'll be doing that again in the future, hopefully. I'm not going to announce it, right? This is going to be like Retribution. And I'm not going to announce the unannounced appearance live stream. I'm not going to announce the unannounced live stream like WWE announced Retribution. I think I'm just going to go live whenever I want to. You know, I think that's the funnest thing. So I know that sucks. You know, I'm going to have people that are like, BC, you went live and I missed it. That's why you always check the chat. You should be notified because I'm going to go live whenever. You know, that's how I love to do these type of things. Always, you know, just fucking spur of the moment, man. Spontaneous. So thank you guys, every single one of you that made that live stream awesome. And we'll do it again, hopefully, in the future. And SmackDown last night was, it was a dud. It was a dud. I'm not saying there wasn't some good stuff. Mandy and Sonya really stole the night. Everything else was just a dud. Sasha and Bayley in that thing with Stephanie, it was just to set up some SummerSlam matches. All right. Bray Wyatt and Alexa and Braun Strowman coming from the ending last week. That finish, that was the talk of the wrestling world. And then this week, that's how you back it up. That was how you follow this storyline. Wow. You went from me caring to me not giving a fuck. So that was, and then the whole show was carried by Sheamus and King Corbin. If that doesn't tell you right there how the show was. And then you have Retribution. The start of the show, Corey Graves and Michael Cole are asking, are they scheduled tonight? What the fuck? Who hired the people that are going to ruin the company? I think that was a bad move. That's it, guys. Much love. Coffees and ass whoopings. And hopefully you guys kick your weekend's ass, man. And I'll be back with you next week, obviously for more content, man. And maybe I'll pop up with a live stream out of nowhere, like an RKO, or maybe I'll just see you for the Monday Night Raw review and reaction on Tuesday. But you can bet your ass, next time I see you, we're going to bring the full amplification, man, like always. Until then, live. Yeah, one time. Amplify!